You know, everybody talk about Black Lives Matters. I'm a Black Lives Matter person. I'm black, yes. But Black life should not matter only when you die. Just as Venezuelan lives should not only matter because of what happened in Venezuela. All lives should matter.
We've heard about dirt poor, but have you ever heard about Posey poor? And what can someone who grew up on Posey Lane in central Trinidad aspire to become? Well, the short answer in Trinidad and Tobago is anything and everything. And we have the inspirational story to prove it to you today. Welcome to the third installment of Trini Inspirations, the show that hopes, God willing, to inspire every single Trinbagonian of every walk, of every ilk, of every faith, of every creed to make our country better and to reclaim the Rainbow Island status that we were once bestowed, or that was once bestowed on this beautiful twin island paradise. Welcome to episode 3. My name is Fuzz, and today we are joined in studio by a little girl, once a little girl who grew up in Posey Lane, now a young lady who has worked with USAID and the US Embassy, who is a martial artist, a martial arts trainer, a personal trainer who runs and heads the Ryudan Dojo, who is a social worker and activist, sometimes a political activist if need be. She is involved in anything and everything where there is a cause, where there is a reason, where a voice is required, or where help is needed. I give warm greetings and welcomes to the third installment of Trini Inspirations to Sensei Marva, Hanifah, John, Logan. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Good afternoon, Trinidad.
Sensei, it is a privilege of mine to be able to have this conversation with you today. You did not have an easy upbringing, and even though you have managed to become successful, you have never left your roots. You're still based in Shogunas. You do most of your work in Shogunas. Why?
Trinidad and Tobago is indeed a pleasure, and thank you so much. And thanks for this particular platform to give Trinidad and Tobago the inspiration that is needed at this point in time. Growing up in Posey Lane, as you mentioned, it was not easy. And the name came on because that street was really poor. Board houses, we had lipe yards, those who know about lipe yards, fireside. We had outdoor toilets for many years. We go to school with one pair of sneakers for 4 or 5 years, my sister and I. I came from a family of 9 siblings, 6 girls, 3 boys, a 2-bedroom board house that you could stay outside and watching. My father working currently limited Shogunas in those days, and my mom was a domestic worker. She worked in everybody's kitchen, everybody's house. She mind everybody's children while we had to see after ourselves at many times. And so that was Posey Lane, and that was my motivation. My brother did not did well in school, and he ended up on the wrong side of the law doing drugs and was arrested at the age of 19. I was 14 at the time. And it actually devastated not only our home but our street, because we were so closely knit. If you grew up in a poor community, you know everybody look out for everybody else. And from there and then, my sister and I and some other person decided that that cannot be the life that we wanted for ourselves, and we must do more to help others. And we started our social work from there, you know, and we just grew that. And that take me into the realm of when I accepted Islam just over 26 years ago. That I accepted Islam, I wanted to be still clothing and be doing sports, because sports for me was the way out of poverty at the time. So I played netball, and I used to do track and field for Trinidad and Tobago to get uniform to go to school. Those days was barter bullet. So if you join a team, you get a pair of sneakers. So I joined many teams because I wanted more than one pair of sneakers, because for my siblings to also get sneakers because we couldn't afford. So I became a runner out of necessity. So I will run from Lendo Village, which is Posey Lane, straight to Caps, which is Capi Chima Junior Second in those days. Bus was 10 cents, and still I could not afford paying 10 cents. So I had to get up 3:30 every morning together with my father to go. He was going to work, Caroni Limited, and I will run. That's it. Make sure I reach the school on time. Walk with an extra rag to make sure that I'm clean and tidy, and sit down and do my homework in school. So I never, because we didn't have time to do that. We didn't have lights, you know. And today I am here doing my social work because each one must help one. And coming into the Deen of Islam, I understand why helping is not only for Muslims, it's for mankind.
Marva, would you say that growing up in that sort of poverty gave you the opportunity to build a different level of empathy?
Not only empathy, no, but awareness. A lot of people could empathize, but they sit and empathize. What I did, it gave me wheels to move. It gave me passion, and it created a heart that is so big and large. I think I could change the entire world, although I know I can't. But I feel like that. I feel if I go to run a marathon in high heels, I will win all the time, because I am that passionate to improving lives. And it's not about me doing that. I have a team that works with me. My husband, Mr. Logan, as I call him, Mr. Logan, because we went through so much and we continue to go through so much. It's a struggle. And to have nobody who is listening this story will understand that in community work there's a great sacrifice. Sometimes you're not there for your family because other people need you more. And sometimes you believe your vision that you have for the community you're living, or the world that it is here now, that you believe that everybody will share that vision. And it will always be so. People change as you go. And doing social work where I am now has affected me, has affected my family life.
This has exacted, from what you're saying, a major toll on you personally, and yet still you persevere. Why?
Because you gotta keep your eyes focused not on the storm, but on the creator that created the storm. Sometimes in life we get to a place where we feel that we can't go right or left. But when you see the contribution and the life that your work have contributed to other people's lives, and you hear these stories, and as somebody say, Auntie Marva, Sensei Marva, Uncle Roll, you all have done so much, and parents come on a daily basis and they reach out to us and tell us that because of what we did, their child or the children in a better place, or their life in a better place. You can't stop.
Marva, do you realize that you've basically, from your story you've just told, you've come full circle following in the footsteps of your mother? You started off by saying that your mother would be busy taking care of everybody else's families while you were left to fend for yourselves. You followed in your mother's footsteps. And now that you are in this situation, is there anything, if you could do differently, you would or would have?
I will not. I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you change things, it changes who you become and who you are. Because of that journey landed Rudan Dojo into the U.S. Embassy bosom. And saying that in the sense of it created a platform where we could have helped so many more. So I think if I change anything, it's going to change the amount of people we're going to help, and I don't want to change that at all, because lives are more important than mine. I'm just one individual. Our home, our business, our NGO is just one. But what about the many persons that pass through on a daily basis? In a year, we do just over 2,000 children and families, talking to them, working with them, helping them. If I should change anything and say I would have wished I spend more time with my family, which I do still want to spend more time with my family. But I think the greater good is the generation change that is happening.
That sort of self-sacrifice is a lost trait, Marva, and it is unbelievable almost to hear someone speak with that passion and that selflessness that you're speaking with. Let's just go back to Posey Lane. You talked about change. How has Posey Lane changed? The name has changed and it's now Pear Lane. Yes. But how has that community changed, if at all, from then to now?
it has changed. And I'll tell you something which I am so proud, and now I tell people, where you come from? I say, Posey Lane, Lendon Village, Posey Lane. I say, yes, now they name it Beatrice. But if you walk in that street and see the size of houses in there, and some of the children there have gone into university, they now abroad, and they are actually giving back to that same community. Political parties, because they know the importance of that street, they always try to buy everybody in that street, because the street tends to stay very close-knit as a family unit, although there may be different cultures in the street, we share. So for Eid, everybody celebrate Eid. For Diwali, we celebrate Diwali. For Christmas, everybody come out, and they come in each other's yard. And it have a bond that nobody can break right there. You know, it was faced with crime and violence, as every other part of Trinidad and Tobago some point in time, but they didn't break it. It was very resilient, and that resilience helped us in more than one way, because look, NGOs like myself, Rudan Dojo, we are working with USAID right now in the Community Resilience Initiative. We are one of 4 partners, and working with the Venezuelan and the local communities to create spaces just as Beatrice, to make sure they are very resilient to overcome challenges and press forward.
And I'll take my cue from that last point, because we're talking about Trinidad and Tobago. Firstly, we're talking about the community, Posey Lane, and we're talking about Lendor Village and Chagonas. But if we could replicate the model, which, as you have just explained, has clearly worked to bring the people out of that abstract poverty into the situation that they're in now, how could we replicate that across Trinidad and Tobago? Do we do that by replicating more Marvas? And how do we replicate more Marvas? How do we get more people in this country where we have become so westernized, in the sense that we are now self-absorbed and we're no longer focused on the good of the community, but on what we can take for ourselves? How do we engender this sort of perspective of thinking, of this way of life? How do we get that back for the betterment of the communities and our national narrative?
I believe there are plenty more Marvas outside there, plenty more Mr. Logans, plenty more Capflow, plenty more Rudan Dojo. Some of them just sitting on their butt, to be quite honest, because they are afraid. People are afraid of change. People are afraid of standing up and voicing their concerns because of stigmatization, for whatever reason. But I strongly believe if we come together, because what will happen in Beatrice is collaboration. We listen to each other, we work together, we appreciate the differences, but we understand our commonalities. So if we come together, what is common to us, and come on and put the right persons in the right places and go to the right organizations, you'll find a lot of changes happening. Because many times people bring persons from outside the community to try to fix our community. But you have to remember, you have to start where the community is or where the person is. And let them tell you what is the situation, because most of the time if they could tell you the problem, they already have the solution.
Well, you say that, and immediately I'm remembering my Ustad saying to me that the best leaders were at one point in time the best servants, and they would have gone through the ranks to thereafter become the best leaders, having understood the problems that the layman would face. Marva, my next question then would be something that appears very easy on the surface, but that is a bit more difficult to get. You talk about commonalities. What are the commonalities from your perspective, your unique Lendor Village perspective? What are the commonalities that bind Trinbagonians? Because right now, Marva, it seems as though we have so much more, if you were to go by the narrative on social media platforms, that there is so much more working against us than for us. It would appear as though Trinidad and Tobago is broken. And some people would say that the elections would have brought that out. But an election could only manifest that which was already inside of us, that which was already present. How did we get there? That's not the mindset, the culture, and the Trinidad and Tobago that I grew up knowing. How did we get there, and how do we get out of it?
We have become a selfish nation. And we are allowed outside influence to influence us. You must have some values. You must have something that will keep you grounded. Yes, we know we are human beings. We may go up and down in faith, as you know. Sometimes we up, sometimes we down. But for me, what keeps me grounded and make me understand commonalities in everybody, we have something called life. We are all human beings, and we all want to live. And we all want to live the best life possible. How can we live the best life possible we must understand you have differences as well. And your differences do not mean that I have to hate you because you are different.
Let's talk about differences, Marva. There is a huge difference in culture. As much as we have our own issues to deal with here in Trinidad and Tobago, we still have some commonalities. But there is a huge difference in culture between Trinbagonians and Venezuelans. You're basically saying that all lives matter in this general broader context. But the average Trinidadian, based again on the narrative of the social media and other platforms, they don't seem to have any sort of due care, concern, or any sort of expressed humanity for the Venezuelans who are fleeing and flocking to Trinidad and Tobago. How do we address this situation? And I ask this question knowing that you are actively involved in trying to address this situation. So what would you say? How would you guide this narrative from a starting point to wherever you would like us to be?
First and foremost, we must understand that everybody is human being, one face or the other. We all face different challenges in different parts of our lives. Whether it's a Venezuelan, whether it's a Jamaican, whether it's a Guyanese, whether it's Trinidadians on the whole, when we leave and go abroad, we are faced with a similar discrimination. And just as we all must always put ourselves in somebody else's shoe, we may not always understand, but we as ourselves must always remember life matters. And you know, everybody talk about Black Lives Matters. I'm a Black Lives Matter person. I'm black, yes. But black life should not matter only when you die. Just as Venezuelan lives should not only matter because of what happened in Venezuela. All lives should matter. And at this point in time, the Venezuelans need that help. They need that support. They need that understanding. Their culture is different from us, yes. And we as Trinidadians, must understand our own shortcomings. And if we have to put in place of like the Venezuelans and go abroad and end up in a situation, would we want help? How would we react? Because let me tell you, the Venezuelans in Trinidad and Tobago, they are here to stay. Just as in any part of the world, just as Trinidadians go abroad, they are there to stay. Yes, they might go back and forth. But the other thing I want to talk about, as you mentioned, the Venezuelans, they eat like us. They sleep. I think they bleed green. I believe they bleed red. Yes or no? Yeah. They have the same issues, domestic violence facing the women more than men, just as Trinidadians. We have our men who are afraid to communicate because emotionally they're not in a good space, but they have no platform, because if a man goes to have a marital issue and I need help, they will laugh at him and tell him take a wife or take a woman. Same thing happening with the Venezuelans. So we really have to understand what we are faced with. Yes, we understand Trinidad and Tobago resources might be limited, but yet we still have enough to share because we waste a lot. We spend a lot of money around Carnival time, and that is okay for those who believe in Carnival. We spend a lot of money around Christmas time, Easter, Eid. We give so much. Why can't we? What is the difference between helping a Trinidadian and helping a Venezuelan? I want somebody to tell me. What is the difference? Is the life different? I don't know. You know, I working with the Venezuelans and Trinidadians is to bring about a cultural understanding, to foster that social cohesion that is needed for us to live in the same space and group. And let me tell you something. What will happen a couple years down the road? The Venezuelans and they may get better jobs than us. You know why? Because they make up their mind to come, work hard, learn English. They already could speak Spanish. We still not going to school to learn anything. No Spanish or no second language. So the ordinary Trinidadian or Trinbagonian on the street only have one language. What will happen? So we have to, these are things that should propel us, to motivate us to accomplish more and put ourselves in a space that we could understand what is happening in our society. Because it's not only Trinidad, it's happening across the world.
Humanitarian, social activist, and so many other hats that you wear. And now your aid and assistance is being rendered not just to the people of Lendor Village or by extension the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but to the Venezuelans as well, and to anybody else for whom help is required once you can assist. It has cost you a lot, and I can see that you're bearing the pain of that cost, and it's still not forcing you at all to mash the brakes. So my next question then is, at some point you realize that you cannot continue on a particular trajectory. You want to continue to help, but sometimes we have to find new and more inventive and innovative ways to offer assistance to a greater mass of people, a greater number of people, because sometimes there's just one of you, so you can't do the one-on-one. you have found a new way by which to lend assistance to women and to the men who may need it as well, but with a special focus on women and women's matters. And this is coming through a new initiative.
Kiran Maraj, I want to just shout on Kiran, big up. She has been such a support for me in this. This came about from last year through my own personal experience, and I will really praying and asking God a way out. I was going through struggles, challenges in my own personal life and my marriage, and I had nowhere to turn. I really had nowhere to turn to, and I asked God for direction. And coming out of that, I have something called Sense Inc., which is a new organization. I'm Sense because they call me Sensei. So Sense Inc. is serving, empowering, nurturing, and supporting every individual. That was Sense Inc. stand for. And coming out of that, the name of the program is Woman You Are Powerful. It will be on radio, Heartbeat, and it will be launching very, very soon. We have a team which is Kiran Maraj, Miss Linda Hines, Tioka Dove, Unika Mars from Woman of Substance from Tobago, a woman who stands strongly against violence from women. We have Denise Mohammed, she's the counselor on the program. And we're still trying to get a male counselor onto the program, but the program is designed to highlight women in their struggles, the journey, whether it's family issues, whether it's work issues, whatever issues it. But more importantly, we're looking at gender equality. We want to also touch the issues that men create a platform for men also to share their stories, their journeys, so other persons can be inspired and don't just sit on the butt. Get up and say, listen, this happened, but this could be accomplished, because we must find a way. And throughout that, I hope that program will reach so many women and young girls and young men and across the board, because we intend for it to go international, to really bring about positive change within families, first and foremost, communities and countries.
Marva, my last question in this regard is something that we chatted about before we actually started this interview, and that is that there is a narrative online, there's a conversation, an ongoing dialogue online, which says something to the effect along the lines of, we need to stop telling women what to do, how to be, how to act. Stop telling her how to dress, for instance, and start telling the men how to behave, how not to act or misbehave because of what she wears. Because it's not her fault that she wears this, and it's not to say that because she wore this, for instance, that she's deserving of anything. He needs to be taught how to control himself, how to operate, and how to become a more refined man. So whilst I hear you talking about having these wonderful narratives and reminding women of just how powerful they are, I always remember an interview, I can't even remember the gentleman, he said the woman is already better than the man because the woman made the man, in that regard. And so for me it's a no-brainer, and if we want to educate the world, start by educating women, and every child that is born from that woman becomes educated. So it is also a no-brainer. But how do we fix the issue if we continue to only address the feminine narrative and we never tackle the patriarchy and the male pattern issues?
Yeah, we're laughing on air because the program also will have a aspect for men to voice their stories and to share their stories and voice their concerns. And I'll tell you why that is so important for me first. I'm passionate about that as well. I have 2 boys, I have no girls. And being married for 33 years, please don't try to figure out my age, Trinidad and Tobago. And going through the ups and downs, like in every marriage, sometimes they don't create a platform for men to even break down emotionally. We don't tell men it's okay to cry. We tell them they could kill a cockroach and they could kill the rat, and then they start to kill the people. Socialization, right? Being a social worker, we're in a heart of a social worker and a psychologist, those things how we grow. You have young men from very early looking at porn, so then what happens later on in life? All they know is if they have a problem, take a wife or take a woman, or a woman should be treated in this type of way because that is how they were socialized. Now, people say that is just making excuses, but it may work for you, it may not work for somebody else. You could bounce your toe and I could bounce my toe, but both of us reacted differently because of how we grow, our environment, our subcultures, our socialization. And I our program, Woman You Are Powerful, is not just addressing women. We're going to have men on that program. Because we want the men to understand how powerful they make the woman. Men make women very powerful because some of them give up their right to be men. They give up the right to be leaders in our community. So the women have to step up the game. Because if every home is an absenteeism of a father, or sometimes even the father figure is there, the life that they're living is not a one that the young men or the daughters happy to see or align themselves with, then the mother have to do the two jobs, although there are two parents in the home. And I don't like to say single families are dysfunctional because there's a lot of single families that are awesome and dynamic. We have families that are not operating as families because for more than one reason. And I want to bring in a little bit of controversy here when it comes to our deen called Islam being a Muslim woman. Our entire platform, if a woman have an issue or a family have an issue, is only men on that platform. When they go, is only men there. How would they see and understand where the woman point of view come from? We talk about polygamy, but are the husbands doing it according to the deen of Islam, or they are doing it according to one ayat or one piece, or one sheikh tell them is this or one sheikh tell them is that? And we have to be careful how we teach our deen, how we teach our Islam. We have to be careful when we're supposed to encourage men, the word men, to do what is right all the time, because they are our cover and our protector and our provider. But when they are not doing that and they're causing so much hurt, we look at women being abused physically. But every time a man is unfaithful, it's a psychological abuse on that woman. And every time that woman is unfaithful, it's a psychological abuse on that man. Do we talk about those issues? Do we talk about those issues in the church, the mosque, or the temple? Do we create that platform for men to say, listen, I have an issue, I don't know how to cope, but they will go to a friend that will only pull out one piece and point them in that direction? That is not the way. And I will continue to be passionate because I know the sacrifice that was made not only by me but my family. It's a great sacrifice. And people don't see the sacrifice. They may see the end result, but it's a lot. And I still will not change anything. I love my family dearly, but if I go to change any single thing, the results itself is going to change. You come at exam, if you multiple choice, you choose A, it might be the correct from the time you rub it off, and you choose B, it's a different result you're going to get. From getting 100, you might get 99. And we always have to try to be the best that we could be to create each generation should be better than the one before at all levels. And I think programs like these, platforms should be created. So the social media conversation about a woman dressing a particular, a man acting in a particular way, we do not have strong men anymore in our communities. Men are afraid of powerful women, meaning powerful women, not to say that are back at you or ill speaking, but women who rise to the, we have to teach our men, support our wives, support our women who are rising, support them, be at their side. Nothing wrong with that. You understand? And we have to tell our women, don't look down on your husband or look down on your brother or your sister. No. So there must be balance. But instead of that, we have a lot of division. And we also have to hold our women accountable. And the woman program is for too, right? Because women knowingly goes to married men because they don't want the commitment.
Marva.
And men deliberately goes outside the deen for women who don't look and wear hijab and then try to put them in the hijab for a different reason. So when we talk, we have to be careful. I don't even want to go down there. I want to continue to inspire women and men and families to do what is right all the time, even when the odds are against you. Stand for what is right. I want my man, mine's, yours, and our women, Trinidad and Tobago, to do what is right all the time. Let us be each other's keeper instead of encouraging each other to do what is wrong.
And when that voice tells you that, woman, you are powerful, I want you to take it and run with it, because she is a living example that one woman, one person can make all the world of difference. But what we have also gathered from this conversation, firstly, is that I, as a man, have to do whatever is necessary to correct, firstly, myself and any deficiencies in me as a person, and thereafter as a male. And I also have to do and will do, Marva, whatever I can to assist in the discussions with the men and the men folk. Continue to encourage our women, continue to provide platforms such as these. But as much as Marva has made all the sacrifices, and as she has alluded to, the ultimate sacrifice with, her own family for the better of the larger community and the wider nation, as much as one person can change the world, one person is also not enough. We need many more Marvas. We need many more people, men and women, to step up to the plate, even if not in the grandiose measure in which Marva has done so. We need more Trinbagonians to represent. We need to stop representing only when it's cricket and carnival and start representing for all of the other things as well that make us uniquely Trinbagonian, because our country is in peril. It is a beautiful island, but it is broken and it is not beyond repair. Marva is a living example of that, and you and I can also be. This is Trini Inspirations, and for more Women You Are Powerful narratives and conversations, Marva, where can I follow you at?
All right, so we're going to be Woman You Are Powerful on Instagram, and also we're creating our Facebook page. So I will send all the information and we'll put it outside there. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And before we go, if I want to tease that, I just want to send a shout out. I promise that I just want to tell my family, thank you so much. My husband, Logan, thank you. My sons, Atiba and Akidal, and the entire Rudan Dojo family. Woman, you are indeed powerful. Stand up. Peace.
How many are as powerful as Marva? Marva, thank you very much for joining us in studio today for episode 3 of Trini Inspirations. God willing, we will catch you again next week. All the details from this conversation, all the links, etc., are in the description down below. Till next week, bye-bye for now, and God bless.